Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Here's one to think about this morning. The closest distance between a problem and its solution is the distance between your knees and the floor. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance this morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Call in. And a good morning to you. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, and it is a Tuesday, January 30th. Good morning with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires and the best of everything right there at all 7 locations right here in the Magic Valley. Along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation with Nick and the crew at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Where were you and why weren't you listening?
I forgot to turn my button on for the mic.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Have a good day. Holy cow, we've got a lot to talk about today, and I want your involvement. But right now, we're going to go to the weather forecast. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. Hello, Roger and the crew. They've got all the rental tools and equipment for both long and short term. So I'm telling you, you better call them today. Stop in. And if you're not sure what you need, just tell them what kind of a job you're doing. They can help you. Always do at K&R Rental, 678-3122. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
This high-pressure system that we're in is going to be around for a few more days, so expect some nice weather, then maybe some precipitation as we get closer to the weekend. Today, partly sunny skies with a high of 33, a little on the breezy side. Winds out of the south for the morning, right around 10 miles an hour, becoming west winds right around 20 miles an hour by this afternoon. Could gust up to 33 miles an hour. For tonight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 31. Tomorrow, another nice day, partly sunny skies with a high of 41. Winds out of the west right around 15 miles an hour, gusts possible as high as 26. Mostly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 27. For Thursday, this is where we're going to see a little bit of precipitation, 20% chance of rain and or snow showers in the morning. Mostly cloudy skies with a high of 43. Thursday night, mostly cloudy with a low of 33. Then for Friday, slight chance of rain showers in the forecast, mostly cloudy and a high of 50. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I've got a question. Wheels, get on the air real quick, real fast. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
I think Gina meant to say 53 for a high today. She said 33. So here's what I want you to do while I'm doing the next 2 commercials. Yell across the hall and ask her if she meant to say a higher number than 33 for a high today.
Okay.
All right. Find out for me. Let me know. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Hey, don't forget K&R Rental bringing you the weather at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. And the number to call and get more information, 678-3122, K&R Rental. Don't you forget, too, that on Thursday, sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. The number to call for cattle consignments and sale information, 678-9411. Merv May, Cade, Rogge, Lance, Udy at the sale that does work for you. Burley Livestock Sale coming up this Thursday at, of course, 10 o'clock. Don't you miss it. Burley Livestock Sale Yard. We got a lot of things to talk about. One thing I want to mention real quick. I do have, and I've been a little hesitant on announcing this on the radio until I had a supply, but I do have an ample supply of caps that I made up on behalf of my radio program, and on the front, Trump U. I think the caps, when you see them, will explain it. And they sell for $20. Now, here's the deal. The net proceeds of these caps is going to go right back into our Christmas fund to help needy families at Christmas time, the net proceeds. So if you want a Trump U cap, then be sure and get a hold of us. My cell phone number is 312-2976. And I think we're also going to be having some over at our good friend Doug Martin at Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget our friends at Darrell's Cleaners, and they're located at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Oh, you got a stain on your favorite shirt, Bunky, and maybe you ladies didn't wear an apron while you were making the big dinner at Christmas time. Ooh, you got cranberry stains on there. Oh, my goodness sakes, on your dress or whatever. Take it in and let Darrell's Cleaners fix them up, and they'll come back to you brand spanking new. They are the best. Absolutely, for all your rumply crumplies, you stop in. Darrell's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, serving you for a long, long time. The greatest cleaners in the world, Darrell's Cleaners. Also want to remind you, too, about our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric. And let's see. They're located at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. I had some notes that were handed to me, and I was trying to read notes and do this at the same time. Duh, here we go. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. And they've got all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. Great big warehouse there. Very, very efficient, knowledgeable people serving you. They've been here many times to help us. They're good. Real good. Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley, opening up at 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Let's take a look here at some of these notes I've got. I would like to mention Ellen Peterson is having a birthday today. And Ellen Peterson, we wish you the very happiest of birthdays. This is a wonderful family, and I absolutely want to wish her the best. I know she's been kind of under the weather a little bit lately, but we wish her Godspeed and happy birthday to you. Also, let's see what else have we got here. I understand we've got our information for 906. I'm getting all kinds of notes handed to me by Deanne, so we're trying to keep up on things. We're going to get into our first story this morning, and all I can say is that I wish we had more information this morning right now about the pipe bombs that exploded in Burley yesterday, in downtown Burley. I do not. I've been on the phone with the mayor and others this morning trying to get more information. And fortunately, and I mean this, God's blessings, no one was injured as of the newspaper story that was printed. And there again, if Sheriff Jay Heward and Under Sheriff George Worrell are listening and have any other information, feel free to call in and let my audience know this morning, or the mayor, or anyone with the city council. It's such a sad thing to think that this kind of activity, yep, we're not immune from it right here in the Magic Valley. So again, we'll try to have some updates on that story about that pipe bomb. Or there were more than one. I understand one did not function, thankfully, and one was plenty, but I certainly hope they find the perpetrators and they suffer the consequences. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I want to remind you, too, about Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Oh, you can take your sweetie to Denny's Restaurant for a special Valentine dinner. From 4 to 10 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, a 3-course dinner for two, only $20. You choose the appetizer, one entree, and share a delicious piece of caramel apple pie crisp. She's going to love you. That's what Valentine's Day is all about at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, America's Diner, and also 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Absolutely the best Denny's Restaurant. That apple crisp really got my juices flowing here this morning. That sounds really, really good. Calls are welcome, and give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle. I want to remind you about our dear friends over at Dino's Septic Service in Rupert. Oh, hello. They were tuned in yesterday listening to us, and they recently have got bigger, better, and able to serve you more when they purchased Dennis Dockstetter's pumping service. So now they're big. Septic tanks pumped, septic tanks and drain fields installed, backhoe service, liquid waste removal, and the sewer and sink drain lines cleaned. They do the job that we don't want to do. I mean, no way. But I'll tell you what, they pull in your yard, and fast, fair, friendly service with a smile, and very efficient. Dino Septic Service, and they're ready to go. In Rupert, call them at 436-6526. Or in Burley, 678-1638. And don't forget them, Dino Septic Service with the big truck called Smells Cargo on the way. Gee, do you have a cold, or do you have a message for me?
I have a message for you. It's a little scratchy on your line. If you want to, do you want to wait till the 9 o'clock hour?
No, I tell you what, just throw something on real quick, cut this line off, and I'll call you right back, okay?
All right, sir.
Got you covered, buddy. Thank you.
Testing.
How's that?
Oh, you sound so much better.
Okay, good. Let's go with it.
Okay.
All right, we're back on the air. Thank you. And the music fades, and we have, sometimes it's amazing, we can get some bad phone lines, and they start getting a little bit vibrant and shaky and quaky and fuzzy and everything, and old Wheels, that's his job over there. He's supposed to play quarterback, and he did a good job this morning to let us know. Thank you, Wheels. Appreciate it. By the way, don't forget Pomerell Place. Living at home all by yourself for seniors can be kind of gnarly sometimes, as the kids say. And with the isolation of being alone, safety hazards of being alone, going upstairs, downstairs, etc., not eating properly, and like I've said, a Pop-Tart does not consist of a well-balanced meal, and missing your medication, well, listen, I know a place, Pomerell Place. It's a place for senior living that offers the ability for seniors to maintain their independence both safely and comfortably. I urge you to call and find out more. 677-8212. That number again, 677-8212. Pomerell Place in Burley, 1301 Bennett Street, 677-8212. Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe, boom, is out of his job as of yesterday, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing that he's gone. He and his wife and his working to hurt the Trump administration, and don't tell me any different, is absolutely reason to put him on the unemployed basis. I believe that all heck is going to break loose very soon, and with good, bad, and ugly coming out on both sides of the aisle. I'm serious. And I also believe that there's going to be very damning and legal pain to the Democrats as high up as very possibly Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama himself. The memo that has been jousted about in the Congress for the last couple of weeks, oh, well, we can't release that. Oh, my, no, why, the American public might know things that we don't want them to know. Well, that's all the more reason for people like me and you and everyone to demand transparency. We pay these people. They are our employees. With the Constitution that says we the people, not we the Democrats or we the selected few. It says we the people. And I myself, I'm just going to raise holy heck when we don't find out things that we the people should know. The Democrats are worried, yes. They're worried about their face saving. They're worried about negativity that's going to be cast upon them. They're going to be worried about what this might do for 18 and future elections. Good. Good. We need to know the information that has been concealed. We need to know what kind of a government we have that is making overtures to spy upon the American public and or any presidential hopeful or his campaign or private citizenry. We need to know. And then we need to take the proper channels to really take a great big ruler and snap them on the knuckles. What are your thoughts about this? Come on, speak up. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't be shy. I want to hear from you right now, please. By the way, too, I want to remind everybody about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. You got a little bit of a sore back and your shoulder's not functioning properly, and maybe you took a little spill and hurt your arm, your elbow, and maybe your knee's not working good. Oh, man, we're all falling apart. Well, I know a place where you can go. They can help you get back to being you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, and the number is 678-1191. Nick Greenwell and his very the best physical therapy staff ready to serve you. Also with the hydrotherapy pool, stop in. Give them a call, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. My. Normally we have about a half a dozen calls right now. What's going on out there? Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to take a little poll here this morning. I was going to talk about Medicaid this morning, but right now I want to ask you an honest question. And really, you would really hurt my feelings if you didn't respond to this, because I want to know the honest truth about what's going on out there in Magic Valley. How many of you that are listening right now, how many of you driving to work, your office, your business, driving to maybe go shopping, driving maybe back home after taking the kids to school, whatever the case might be, really want to give citizenship and amnesty to possibly 3.8 million dreamers? Do you really want to give citizenship and amnesty to those people? Let's take a little poll. It's a simple question. Do you? Yes, or don't you? No. Do you want them to jump ahead of legalized immigration and basically cave into their demands and all of their protests and all of their gesturing? By the way, some other folks saw those pictures of the Mexican DACA dreamers that were gesturing. It was filthy. It was absolutely filthy yesterday. I wouldn't even describe it on my program. And I did have some of the people that saw that photo that came across in a news story, and they were as absolutely negative about them as I am. But do you want them to get citizenship and amnesty? And if Trump does this, I'll be the first to come out and condemn him for literally throwing away one of his campaign promises. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thanks for breaking the ice.
No.
Well, expand on it a little bit.
I do not want to see them give them amnesty in any way. I want the ones that have been criminals prosecuted and kicked out of this country. I want the ones that have broken the laws prosecuted and out of this country. I want the ones that have done things that are wrong out of here. And that is probably the majority of them.
Okay, now let me ask you this. The politicians on the left and the news media, they're painting the DACA dreamers as, these are potentially great business people and scientists and leaders and everything else, but that's a bunch of horsepucky because many of them have got criminal felon records. Many of them never graduated from high school. Many of them are felons, and I think they need to weed out the chaff if they're going to do anything and send those dudes completely back home immediately.
I absolutely agree. I think it's ridiculous what the news media and the Democrats and a lot of the Republicans are doing to try and keep them here. I think it's just absolutely stupid.
So I can take your answer, and it was a very good answer when you clarified it, as a definite no. Right, Jerry?
That's right.
All right, my friend. God bless you for your call. I do appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. What about the rest of you? Do you really want to have an automatically clear path to citizenship and amnesty? We forgive you and your parents and everybody else for coming here illegally, so we're going to reward you with citizenship. Wait a minute. Ever since they were old enough to understand, they've had chances and opportunities to try to obtain, go through the legal channels, and become legal citizens of this country. Does my heart break for them having to be sent back home? No. No. I don't want to see any more chain migration. I don't want to see Uncle Hector and whomever stay here. I want to see this thing tightened up. I know a lot of you out there, we're the land of opportunity. We can do so much to help others. Wait a minute. It's kind of like the old question, how high is up? Or how many is too many? We are bringing in literally millions of people a year to live and reside in this country, not all of which are going to be contributing factors. The numbers are far, far less than you would imagine to our economy. As a matter of fact, many of which will be absolute strains on your pocketbook and mine. And when you talk about the environment regarding our infrastructure, schools, medical availability, how they're going to be able to pay for all this, there's a lot of questions. And so my question goes back is, how many is too many, and are we already there? When this country was a fledgling, growing country, yes, we opened the doors for a lot of people to come in this country, help settle, help make it grow, help be a part of a culture that absolutely was America first. And now we are bulging. And we are also hurting economically with trying to support a lot of these people that aren't doing their fair share of trying to earn their own living and be self-responsible. Answer the question, do you want these DACA dreamers to be given amnesty and citizenship? Please call me. It's very important right now, and we're going to probably hear a whole bunch more about this later on this evening in the State of the Union speech. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, I've got a break right now for exactly 60 seconds. You just stay there. I'll be with you. Don't you go away. Don't forget our urgent care serving you. Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center at 382 North Overland in Burley. Urgent care of Twin Falls at 2392 Addison Avenue East in Twin. Urgent care of Jerome at 133 West Avenue A. And boy, they provide so many many services. You got to cut, need stitches, sprains, strains, fractures, care for the whole family, a lot of work for the businesses with DOT physicals and drug screening, all of this and more. And you get treated, not seated, no appointment necessary. Open 7 days a week with extended hours. There you go. The urgent care serving you. Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, Urgent Care of Jerome, and Urgent Care of Twin Falls. Please know that you've got a good friend trying to keep health care costs down with the urgent cares. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, Mr. Bell. How are you this morning?
Are you on a speakerphone?
Yeah. You want me to turn it off?
Yeah, absolutely. Do never, ever call with a speakerphone. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, hold on.
All right, please. Speakerphones are terrible on the air. Go ahead, please.
Sorry, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
You know, this baloney about DACA, I'm of the opinion, some of these people have been here 15, 16, 10 years, whatever. Why did they not get their citizenship before now?
Oh, gee.
And my opinion is, it's because they would have to pay for everything themselves.
You know, Donna, I'm not going to have any gratuitous feelings towards these people. I mean, if all of a sudden, and caller number 2, don't go away. I'll be with you in just a minute, I promise. I want to hear everybody on this. I can't feel any remorse for them having to get the adios out of our country because of what you just said. They had ample time to prepare for the worst and try to make it a situation that was for the good of becoming a legalized citizen. And as far as me sitting there going, wah, they've got to leave the country, I can't feel that way.
Yeah, I have no sympathy for them whatsoever. What we need to do is ship them all back to where they came from, and if they want to come back, let them come back the legal way, like some of the other people who stood in lines and waited for their citizenship.
Well, Donna, you said exactly right now.
Gimme.
Yeah, you just said right now.
All this is.
We got a little delay there. I'm sorry. You and I were walking over each other, and I apologize. You just said exactly what Representative Lamar Smith of Texas said last night. Go back home, and then if you want to come back legally.
That's right. I have no problem with people coming into our country. We're one of the greatest countries ever. But do it legally and abide by our laws and abide by our system and quit trying to fight everybody and do it the right way. I mean, that's what laws are made for.
Donna, why in the world should we reward people that are basically protesting, gesturing, swearing, cursing, demanding, shutting down entranceways? Why should we reward them with a gift given to them as possible citizenship and amnesty when they don't deserve it?
Oh, I'm right there with you. I just hope that Trump, if he caves on this, he's lost my vote.
I'm afraid you are correct. Thank you, and I really appreciate you switching that back over. Thank you so much.
You betcha.
All right.
Day, my friend.
Caller number 2, good morning. I'm going to ask you a favor. Stay with me just a second because I'm going to do this quick ad and be right with you. I want to get your vote on this. Berry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts. 3 locations. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. That's where Juan and the crew are with the big sandbox out behind the business. And at 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin with Eli, and then also up in Nampa. Oh, my goodness. If you're looking for a new skid steer, compact track loader, or mini excavator, they've got them at Berry Equipment and Rental. Yes, sirree, Bobby, all your equipment rentals, retail equipment sales. They're the home of all the Bobcats. I'll tell you what, all shapes and sizes. You remember them, please. Berry Equipment and Rental. Excellent people to work with. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, sir. I say no on about 99% of them. I don't want them to stay. I don't want them to have amnesty. But there are some, less than 1%, did go in the military. Okay, now those people stepped up, willing to lay their life on the line for this country. And I feel they shouldn't be granted it, but I feel they should have a pathway to it.
Okay, now you just took away my next point of interest to talk about, and that was it. And I think every case could be and should be evaluated, and I am in total agreement with you as far as making exclusions for the people that have already served this country, and I agree with you. But to have somebody or anyone or a group stand there and block the entrance to a legal business like Disneyland, or to gesture and swear and demand on television, I'll tell you what, I'm opening up the file and I'm giving the thumbs down, Doug.
Yes, definitely. The ones that want something for nothing, no, out of here. If you dropped out of high school, out of here. If you went to college, graduated, and you were producing, you've kept your nose clean, you haven't broken any laws, yeah, we can talk about that. But for the ones that are wrapped in a Mexican flag, burning an American flag, and demanding they stay here, nope, not even.
And I'll tell you something, you just touched on a very, very serious subject. I don't want them here as potential neighbors and or citizens of this country when their allegiance and their attitude is for their home country, be it Mexico, South America, Brazil, I don't care. I don't want them up here waving allegiance to another country and bringing the allegiance to another culture to come in here with the opportunity to be a fragment of what this society should be.
Exactly. This country was built on immigrants, and there's no denying that. But when those immigrants come over here, our ancestors came over here.
Yes.
They didn't come over here to be Irish or Italian or French or wherever they come from, Russian. They come over here to be American. And
not wave a banner or flag in representative of another nation or allegiance to another nation.
Exactly. The ones that want to come here and just live off the dole and bring their country with them, they don't belong here.
Yep.
The only ones that we should accept is the ones that come and want to be Americans, want to accept our way of life, our Constitution, and help uphold it.
Amen, Doug. I couldn't agree more, but I'll tell you what, I'm very afraid, and I'm just going to come right out and beller it out this morning, that Trump is going to nail one of his feet to the floor this morning and let them have amnesty and a path to citizenship, and I will, from this point on, condemn him and his administration for going back on campaign promises.
Well, when I first heard it, I was feeling kind of like you are, but then I got thinking about it and listening to a couple other people on the radio, and Trump is setting a trap for the Democrats.
Well, wait a minute. I know where you're headed. I know where you're headed because you're going to try to tie in, of course, the wall, the money for the wall, and the end of chain migration, etc. But unless, and I mean this, unless there is a document signed, sealed, and delivered by the Democrats and all the hierarchy that says, okay, fine, we'll accept the DACA students, but we will also write down right now our names for the funding of the wall and everything else. But you know what, Doug? I don't think they're going to do it.
Well, no. My take on it is, he knows the Democrats do not want to solve this. They do not want President Trump to be the president that solves DACA. They do not want him to succeed. So he threw that out there, and he even offered more than they were asking for. And now listen to the Democrats and see what they're saying about it. It's to make America white again. They're damning his proposal.
Yeah.
They're making him sound like a racist, and here he has offered more than they've asked for. So he has proved that the Democrats have never, ever wanted to solve DACA.
You know,
all they want to do is bring in more voters.
You know, and I'll tell you something. When I see Nancy Appaloosa stand up there in front of the TV cameras and make statements like Trump is a racist and all he wants to do is have white supremacy and a white nation. I am so offended. I am so offended by the dastardly thinking of the Democrats and their so-called leadership. I wouldn't vote Democrat because a vote for Democrat is a vote for evil.
Exactly. And have you heard, too, now the Dems are asking if President Trump can be impeached for lying about thinking about getting rid of Mueller?
Yeah. You know what? People don't realize
I'm sorry.
No, the president has the executive order to fire anybody he darn well pleases.
Exactly. But if they're going to go on that premise, then Obama should have been impeached his first year. Clinton should have been impeached.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, they're so funny.
Well, you know what? You're wrong on that statement to an extent, Doug. It's not funny. It's seriously harrowing experience for the rest of us to have to put up with their garbage.
Well, yeah, that was bad choice of words, but I mean, I laugh at them.
Yeah.
You know, because they are so predictable.
Yeah. I got another call waiting to get their numbers in. Doug, God bless you, man. Thanks. And I know how you're going to end the phone. Quickly say...
Folks, let's help our seniors out.
There you go.
They're the ones that built this great country that we're enjoying right now. So let's do what we can to take care of them.
All right, Doug. Thank you much. Caller number 2, I'm going to ask you a favor, please. I got to pay the bills to keep the lights on, so stay right with me. I'll be right there. Don't forget for Valentine's Day, listen to this, the Dry Dock. What a great place to eat at 181 West Highway 30 in Burley. Oh, my gosh, it's beautiful view of the Snake River and fantastic food and service, too. Go to the Dry Dock for Valentine's Day. They've got a special, a 10 to 12-ounce New York steak and 3 tiger shrimp, or 6-ounce salmon and 3 tiger shrimp. Oh, man, that's going to be good for your lovey. Don't forget, call for reservations at the Dry Dock in Burley. Absolutely delicious. And also, don't forget, too, Sweetheart Manor, 217 South Highway 27 in Burley. For all your weddings and receptions and business meetings, family parties, class reunions, everything at Sweetheart Manor. Really nice people. Brenda and Alan Olson own it, and that is the place to go. I tell you, for your lovies and your parties for your lovies, it's all there at Sweetheart Manor, 217 South Highway 27 in Burley. And here's a place I didn't even know about until we got this on the air. Haight Home Bread and Breakfast at 215 East Poplar Street in Oakley. Very nice people, and they invited Deanna and I to come up there, and we're going to try that. Absolutely, I've got to get up there. You'll enjoy relaxation and comfort as you travel back in time with period furniture and historic memories at the beautiful Haight Home Bed and Breakfast, 215 Poplar Street in Oakley. The number to call, boy, what a great Valentine's Day gift that would be, to kind of get away with your spouse and just sit back and enjoy. 862-7829, Haight Home Bed and Breakfast in Oakley. And those are some great places, wishing you and yours a very happy Valentine's Day. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you.
Good morning. I missed the first of the program, so I'm not sure if yes is yes or no is no, but I agree with the last caller.
All right. Well, no means what it means. It means no to giving DACA and the Dreamers amnesty and citizenship, and yes means you want to go along with the Democrats and let them in.
Well, no, then.
All right.
No.
Why do you feel the way you do?
Pardon?
I say, why do you feel that way? I'd really like to know your reasoning.
I really think what the last gentleman said was appropriate in that there needs to be a premise, set up, point system, whatever it is called, as to give people, if they're paying taxes, if they've paid taxes for 10, 20, 30 years, give them a point. If they're in the military, free ride. As long as they're not a criminal, just because you're in the military doesn't mean you're a saint. But certainly they have provided protection for us, and so maybe we should consider that. But why haven't they done it before now? If they've been here for this long,
I agree.
I have family members and people I consider family who have busted their tail feathers to become legal.
Absolutely.
And, boy, they've done it, and they've raked together every cent possible. I also have other family members who have spouses that just don't care, and they've just ridden on the shirt tails of everybody else.
Let me ask you this.
Whole time.
Let me ask you this question. If you had, and I had, children that were 5 and 6 years of age right now, and we went shopping, and we go to a store, and your child and my child stood there and go, I want this. I want it now. And I'm going to have a temper tantrum. And they start screaming and yelling and knocking things on the floor. Are you going to cave in and say, oh, little Johnny or Susie, here, I'll buy whatever you want? Are you going to cave into them that way?
Well, Zeb, I look great in orange and I rock stripes, and I spanked my children when they acted like that, and I still would. So, I wouldn't know. In fact, I get so appalled at parenting like that. I'm sure you've heard the name Rick Waitley.
Yes.
He's a speaker that goes and does different seminars and conferences all over.
Yes.
And has for decades. And he was at a meeting in Boise and said that he had to take grandparenting classes when his child became a parent. And I thought, oh, Rick Waitley has to take grandparenting classes because they couldn't tell Susie and Johnny no.
Yeah.
And never spank them. Well, I'm a grandparent and have been for almost 24 years. Oh, boy, I must fail miserably because if my grandchildren have needed a swat when they're in my care, believe me. And that's not been often, but they know the boundaries.
Well, the reason I asked you...
If my child acted like that in public, I would yank them out of that place of establishment and take them to the car. Spanking isn't always appropriate, absolutely not, but some kind of a reprimand certainly is.
Okay, but see my point, and you just addressed it in a very, very nice fashion. The point is these DACA dreamers standing there and rioting and protesting and gesturing in very filthy and lewd ways and stopping traffic going into Disneyland to make their demands that this government let them be citizens. Aren't they the spoiled brats in the same kind of an environment as those kids would be in the store? Why should we give in to them?
They are indeed, and until I listened to your program this morning, I wasn't even aware that was happening. I've gotten a little offended with watching news lately, and I tell you what, I know where the on and off button is to my television, and I don't like the fact that even the conservative news channels just go over and over and over and over it, and I guess I'm kind of an ostrich right now because I try to stay up with what points are happening, but I get sick and tired of all of the mully-grubbing that they do.
Yeah.
And no, that's not right.
Well, thank you.
The people I spoke of earlier, although they haven't gotten their citizenship, they are workers. They work, and they would not stand in a line like that.
Yeah. I do appreciate you calling in this morning. I really had a nice conversation with you. God bless you and call more often. You're a very nice lady. Thank you.
One more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I used to have Appaloosa horses, and I don't know if I'd slam an outhouse door that hard like calling them Nancy. So.
I'll refrain. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you. That's interesting. There's a lady that used to have Appaloosa horses, and she's offended for the sake of the horses of me calling Nancy Pelosi Nancy Appaloosa. I love that. Hey, it's time for the weather. Actually, the truth be told, it's past time for the weather. And the weather brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with the lovely Dr. Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. And the number to call to make a hearing screening appointment to find out why you can't hear, she can help. Yes, she can. 312-0957. We'll have more right after the weather.
This high-pressure system that we're in is going to be around for a few more days, so expect some nice weather, then maybe some precipitation as we get closer to the weekend. Today, partly sunny skies with a high of 53, a little on the breezy side. Winds out of the south for the morning, right around 10 miles an hour, becoming west winds right around 20 miles an hour by this afternoon. Could gust up to 33 miles an hour. For tonight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 31. Tomorrow, another nice day. Partly sunny skies with a high of 41. Winds out of the west right around 15 miles an hour. Gusts possible as high as 26. Mostly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 27. For Thursday, this is where we're going to see a little bit of precipitation. 20% chance of rain and or snow showers in the morning. Mostly cloudy skies with a high of 43. Thursday night, mostly cloudy with a low of 33. Then for Friday, slight chance of rain showers in the forecast. Mostly cloudy and a high of 50. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I tell you what, thanks, Gina. And Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Oh, my, they're dedicated to serving people with hearing loss of all ages and their families. Give them a call today, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Calls are welcome. What do you think? So far, every single person that's called in has said no to a path to citizenship and amnesty for possibly 3.8 million DACA dreamers. No. And I guess I'm going to stick my number in there, too. I'm going to say no. I said that originally when I started this morning, and each and every one of you have had good reasons as to why not. And like Representative Lamar Smith of Texas said last night, and I will say it again, Donna called earlier, and I'll use the same words that she and Mr. Smith said, go back home. Then, if you want to come back to the United States, come back legally. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Real quick, before I take the next phone call, give me a jingle. I want to remind you that Brian Scott, Dan King, and Todd Lovelace, financial advisors with Waddell & Reed, are having a booth at Agra Action this weekend at the CSI Expo Center. And they specialize in comprehensive financial planning, retirement planning, investment planning, and insurance planning. And then, after they're at the expo, they're going to have a very, very important farm and ranch succession planning that they're going to have an educational seminar right at their office next Tuesday night, February 6th at 6:30 p.m. This is really important for people in agriculture to be there, understand, and ask questions, and it's a free educational seminar at Waddell & Reed at their office in Twin at 1146 Eastland Drive North. I urge you to RSVP today. It's going to be very interesting. 732-7695. 732-7695. Don't miss it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to know just how much these DACA people have ripped the taxpayers off. For all these years they've been here, they're illegal, and they're collecting all the benefits that you and I are paying for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but don't you feel great that you've reached down into your billfold and reached down into your pocket and pulled out your money clip and you've stepped outside your front door and said, here, and threw $20 bills in the air that they can collect and live on. Don't you feel good?
Oh, I sure do. You know, Zeb, what's going on today, going back to what I learned about history in school, the French Revolution, the Bolshevik revolutions, and all the rioting and the many of people that have been injured, we've got the same problem going on with the Democratic Party trying to destroy the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Now, what is that going to do this summer in our streets when we've got that Democratic Party going all out to destroy Donald Trump?
You know, Tony, you bring up a question and make a statement about what might be in the crystal ball for this next summer. And it's interesting. I talked to a gentleman back in Washington, D.C. yesterday that basically had the same trepidations about this summer when the temperatures start to rise and the Democrats want to have nothing but a total chaos situation. I am with you that I'm very concerned about what's going to happen in some of our major metropolises this summer because of unrest caused by the Democratic Party.
Yeah, they have no conscience about it. Look at Maxine Waters, what she plans on doing today, which is going to amount to a major interruption with Donald Trump tonight.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Maxine Waters and Lewis and the rest of them, all they are extremely unprofessional. I do not respect them any way, shape, or form. I find them to be absolutely leeches on the system, and they should be there to represent their constituents and listen attentively to the State of the Union message, but by not showing up, they're unprofessional. They should be thrown out of office. Tony, I got to run to the news. God bless you, my dear friend. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Ed.
You
Bye.
bet, buddy. Don't forget our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations with the best of traction tires. And you know the weather's going to start to sull up again and maybe turn not for the better. So be ready with traction tires for your car, pickup, and SUV from your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They've got all the tire chains. They've got the best in brake service. That's not bragging. That's a fact. With highly trained brake technicians, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this and more. The best in service to you. With Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. Yep, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got to run to the news, and we'll be back in 7, and we got a full hour, full couple of hours. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch. Oh, we're going to get right into it this hour. I've got a lot of things to do, and like Smokey and the Bandit, I've got a long way to go and a short time to get there. And I want to remind you, this is Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell. And our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. They are the best in helping you get back to being you. Thank you very much. Want to remind everybody, too, that we're going to hear a good word right now, Wheels, if you're ready, with our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, and don't forget they got the dumpsters in various sizes. Like me, I'll take the extra large. I'm going to clean this office out one of these days. You can order them. They'll bring it by, dump it off, and you fill it up. They'll come and get it. They are always at your disposal. Excellent people serving you to get rid of your garbage. Western Waste Services, 734-6969, Western Waste Services. Don't forget, too, our friends over at Intermountain Cassia Regional Hospital. Oh, my goodness sakes, your family. I'll tell you what, they are provided the excellent health care, answers, and services at Cassia Regional Hospital. They, right here in Magic Valley, close to home, that's right, always serving you. Cassia Regional Hospital, offering the latest technological advances in medicine like the new oncology programs and telehealth, which uses electronic information and telecommunications to promote long-distance patient clinical health care. This is really something, and it's right here for you, your friends, your neighbors. Cassia Regional Hospital, quality care close to home. Real fast, before I get our guest on the line this morning, got to pay the bills. Don't forget our dear friends also over at Hanson Mortuary, Joel Heward, with his family and his staff, always serving you and your family with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. And when there's the passing of a loved one, and let's say you live in another rural area way away, they'll try to get right there to help you. They've got flexible hours, and they'll be there to help you with all the arrangements. Don't worry about a thing. Call them, please, at 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, with Joel Heward and his wonderful staff. Don't forget, too, Joel Heward also serving you at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Let's go to the phone line right now, and I've got to apologize to this man right up front. I just literally was handed the information. We had a change in guests this morning at the last moment, and I have not had a chance to read everything about him. Jordan McGillis is a policy analyst at the Institute for Energy Research, and I'm really tickled to have you on the program. Good morning, Jordan. Bear with me. I haven't had a chance to read everything yet.
Good morning to you, Zeb. It's my pleasure here pinch hitting.
Well, pick up a big Hillary and Bradsby baseball bat, and we'll take care of this thing right now. Jordan, what's the story about this morning about the East Coast primarily maybe suffering through some cold weather because they won't be able to heat their homes? Give us kind of a synopsis here.
All right, here's the synopsis. So, as your listeners, I'm sure, have heard, the Northeast has been really smacked with some frigid weather this January. Of course, it's winter, it's always cold. It's been especially cold, and that's presented some problems for the grid, the electricity grid in New England. And the reason why this has been a problem is that their grid is almost entirely dependent on natural gas, but they lack the infrastructure because of our bad policies to get the natural gas they need into New England.
Oh, my goodness. Do you mean to tell me in this day and age of Trump winning the presidency and energy with the bounds is wide open? I mean, we're looking at surpluses of gas. We're even exporting gas, helping other countries. Do you mean to tell me the people in the Northeast are going to be suffering? Explain that a little further.
Okay, so it's truly embarrassing. As you described, we are now a net natural gas exporter, in fact. So we're exporting more natural gas each month than we are buying from other countries. We're sending this to South America, to Asia. We're even now sending this to Europe, and that's alleviating some of Europe's dependency on Russia. Yet at the same time, New England can't get the gas that we're producing because of state laws in New York that are blocking pipelines, and because of New England's own policies, which are making them dependent on gas and preventing them from using coal and nuclear. So we're actually seeing a situation here where just a couple of days ago, a ship carrying Russian liquefied natural gas pulled into a harbor near Boston to deliver gas to alleviate the pressure on the grid in New England.
Wait a minute. A Russian ship pulled into port, and they are helping American citizens in New England because New England and states like New York with Cuomo and the rest of them, they've got rules and regulations that are making these people freeze to death, and they had to be dependent upon a foreign country?
Well, what's so funny about it is that we have this abundance, and it's so close. It's right there in Pennsylvania in the Marcellus Shale. But like you described, the policies of Cuomo in New York and the permitting process there that's been slowed down and just shut down in many cases is creating a situation in which the Overwatch body in New England, the ISO New England, is predicting that in coming winters, they're actually not going to have enough power, and they're going to have to implement rolling blackouts because they simply don't have enough fuel. But this particular Russian shipment that just came in, believe it or not, is from a sanctioned company. The company is called Novatech, and they went under U.S. sanction after the 2014 invasion of Crimea. So while we've got all this bluster here in Washington about the Russians, here we are with domestic policies which are strengthening Russian companies tied right in with that oligarchy.
How is this happening? Where are the state senators and the congressmen? Where are the people outraged, picking up pitchforks and riding right to Cuomo's front yard and demanding this idiocy stop? What's being done?
Well, part of that challenge is that it's New York that's the real barrier to the pipelines, and it's New England that's the state that's really suffering from it. So they don't particularly have political power over what goes on in New York. The states we're talking about that are going to suffer are Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Vermont, New Hampshire. And as we well know, those are states that tend towards the Democrat side.
Yeah.
And I think it's really a communication battle. They probably don't grasp just how detrimental these supposed renewable energy policies are. But hopefully this report from the ISO New England is going to be a little bit of a wake-up call.
You know, Jordan, I really appreciate your coming on here and talking about this morning because, to be honest with you, I got a lot of friends up in that area, up in the Buffalo, New York area, and around other points of the New England area, our Northeast. I can't imagine why these people aren't just absolutely outraged and how they could ever vote Democratic again after what's being done to them. They should be demanding that Cuomo take a long walk off a short pier.
I'm right there with you. That's just the beginning of the story with Cuomo. But the thing is, people have been sold this tale that we are going to be fueled in the future by wind and solar.
Yeah.
And they just don't have that capacity. It's just not quite there technologically. So we've been sold this bill of goods. People think they're going to be okay because of these supposedly promising technologies, but there's a real gap between that perception and the reality, which is that we need reliable power from fossil fuel sources, natural gas, coal primarily.
Well, wait a minute, Jordan. You said that people have been sold a bill of goods. You know, I have been on this program for a long, long time preaching that those cancers on the landscape, those wind turbines, they're not going to do anything. They can't even generate enough power to pay for the actual tower itself. It's just not possible. And it's a waste of money. They're being subsidized, and power companies are being forced to buy that power and incorporate it into their needs and usage, and it's not feasible, and we're being duped with a complete phony bill of goods.
That's exactly right. So in Massachusetts in particular, they have a renewable electricity mandate which stipulates that their electricity producers must buy at least 15% of the electricity that they then transmit to consumers from sources like wind. And so what that does is it makes it uneconomical for the reliable power, the coal plants, to stay in business, because part of their business is now being sent by government mandate the other way. So we've actually seen a situation where these plants in New England that were operating with coal are shutting down, Brayton Bay being one of those plants just in 2017.
You know, doesn't it...
with that reliable fuel no longer available because it's been put out of business,
yeah,
and the fact that renewables aren't actually that productive and they're unreliable, natural gas is filling that void. And then you add on top of this the pipeline factor, and that's where this whole problem arises.
You know, I've been doing energy stories on this program for a long time, Jordan. And the grid, our energy grid, is such a kind of a tentative thing as far as being able to supply the needs of people, with coal being damned and hydropower being damned, and all the other really sensible ways of powering the grid are being damned. And then possibly looking at wind and solar as a very, very scary situation that's not dependable. And then these nincompoops want to try to make all of us buy electric cars. Where's the electricity going to come from to take care of all these needs, Jordan?
Well, thankfully, we're producing all that gas. So that's one thing that's, in most cases, helping alleviate this. Gas is, it still has the perception, possibly just because we have got the name natural in it, it still has the perception that it's not quite as detrimental as coal seems to be perceived to be. That's going to be a big factor going forward. But coal is still going to play a large part on the grid. We're going to see small growth in those renewables, but the fossil fuels are going to continue being a real driver in terms of our electricity grid for decades to come.
You know, as far as I'm concerned, something has got to happen. Some people, groups of people, communities have got to absolutely throw their hands up in the air. And like I said earlier, they have got to present themselves in such an uproarious manner that politicians like Cuomo and the rest of them are going to back up in fear of what's going to happen, because there's nothing worse than a cold New England winter. I spent one winter back there, and I made a promise to myself never to stay there for another one.
And I'm just hoping that the people of New England take these reports from the electricity watchdog, ISO New England, seriously, and they realize they need to get out and influence their politicians and their regulators and let them know we need power. This isn't negotiable. We're not going down this path of unreliable energy.
You know, Jordan, when you talk to these people back there and you visit with them, and I'm sure you probably have, what are their feelings? I mean, what's their animosity like right now against their government and against so-called leadership? What are they saying to you?
The animosity is, it's something that we see online, but I'm not seeing a real groundswell of public hostility towards these policies at this time. And I think it's because to date, things have been okay. And most people, as long as they're getting their power, they're getting their heat, they're not going through their day-to-day lives thinking about the grid. It's only when those disruptions happen and you realize you can't take it for granted. So unfortunately, I think a lot of people are just clueless that they're in this jeopardized position. Now, the CEO of the organization, the ISO New England, was on Capitol Hill just last week talking about this issue, and he's there contending with the chairman of FERC, who is basically describing the situation as not too bad. And yet ISO New England is saying just the opposite. In winters to come, they are going to have to implement blackouts so that there's not a total disaster.
You know, what would, in your opinion, Jordan, be the tipping point? Would it be all of a sudden another massive cold front coming across the Great Lakes and hitting the New England states? What would be the tipping point to just absolutely be the straw that breaks the camel's back in the New England states?
It's really sad to think about that, but I think that probably is what will be the wake-up call, is in winters to come. They're going to make it through this winter okay. But in 2019, 2020, if we have another super cold January as we have this year, people are going to be left without fuel to heat and power their homes. And there's nothing to get you woken up like your toes tingling a little bit.
You know, I can't imagine the pain and the suffering that those folks are going to have. But, Jordan, I think that you could relate that this problem in New England is also a problem that's going to exacerbate itself all across our country with the transition and the forcing by the environmentalists and the politicians to go with a wind and solar energy program. It's just not going to work.
Exactly. And now out your way up in the Northwest, we've got Washington that has a carbon tax on offer, and that's just putting people who are living their day-to-day lives dependent on energy in a harder position, making it more expensive for them, and ultimately it's the people who suffer.
You know, talk to me a little bit about this carbon tax, because I've been preaching for a long time that we need to have a complete uproar against our leadership, if you want to call them that, on these carbon taxes. I mean, how are they implementing that? What kind of a facade are they using to tell the people it's a great idea?
Right. Every situation is a little different, but the one that is on, it's on essentially the plate of the legislature in the state of Washington right now, would be a $20 per emitted ton of carbon dioxide fee, essentially, that producers would have to pay. And then over time, that rate would escalate. It would go up each successive year by, if I remember correctly, it's 5% per year.
Now, explain that to me a little bit, Jordan. Hold on just a second, because you made that statement. A $20 per ton per dioxide fee. I do not understand what you mean exactly. Break that down a little bit.
Okay, so power plants would be the prime example. This would also apply in transportation. But when we're combusting our fossil fuels, part of the material that's burned off is the carbon dioxide, and I believe I don't exactly know the reporting mechanism they would use specifically in Washington off the top of my head, but probably based on some sort of self-reporting, they would assess a fee based on how much you're using. So whatever you buy and then plan to use, they're assuming there would be X number of tons, and then you get charged $20 at the start per ton. So based on what you buy is, I think, how that would be assessed. You buy fuel, and then based on the calculations that the state has set, this is how much carbon dioxide would be produced by the burning of that fuel. We're going to charge you X number of dollars in turn.
And there's no heartfelt worry about the elderly or people living on fixed incomes. These greedy monsters, and there's other names I wanted to use, but I can't use them on the air. All they want to do is tax, tax, tax. And let me ask you an obviously dumb question, but I need an answer to it. Where's that money going to go, and who's going to use it for what purpose?
In this Washington example, that's really been the political crux, is how they're going to spend the money. There have been several different iterations of this tax in Washington, and a ballot initiative, so this was voted on by the people in 2016, was voted down because people weren't happy, especially, believe it or not, on the environmental left. They weren't happy with how the money was going to be spent. But the current proposal, some of the money is going to go to funding energy projects of the renewable sort. So basically giving money in the form of grants to projects on wind and solar. And then also, they're going to use some of that money, if this does pass, to alleviate the pain that the tax will undoubtedly cause for people on fixed incomes. People on fixed incomes pay a much higher percentage of their income for energy expenses than do people who are better off. So Washington, recognizing that, is going to allot some of the proceeds to essentially what they call it, like a rebate, often a rebate that give back to people on fixed incomes.
So basically,
what's really going to down this proposal is that Inslee's plan, that's the Governor Jay Inslee, Inslee's plan wants to take some of that money and give it to other projects, just things he likes. So one of them is education. That's a big platform of his. He wants to take some of the carbon tax, allot it to education. So we're looking at a situation where it's become a real political grab bag. There are all sorts of entities that want to get their hand in that pot of carbon tax money. So to me, it looks like just another grab at money.
All they are Democrat demagogues that shouldn't be anything else other than Kmart welcomers. I have no use for the Democrats and what they're trying to do to destroy good, sound energy programs in this country. I have a caller, a quick question, and I've got to make it short, caller. I'm down to the last 2 minutes. Go.
This whole premise of carbon tax, I'm a plant scientist, and carbon dioxide is not a pollutant. In fact, we have a shortage of carbon dioxide, and without carbon dioxide, we don't produce any oxygen in our green plants, and we don't produce any food. And right now, we're at 400 plus parts per million, and our plants would like to have about 1,500 to 2,000. But this whole premise for this is based on a lie and a hoax about the global warming thing. In fact, the real climatologists are saying we're in a cooling trend. Just ask the people in the Northeast this winter. And, of course, it's warm out west here, but it'll change. And so, I'd like him to comment on that.
All right.
It's based on a lie.
Go ahead. Quickly, Jordan, if you'd comment. I'm down to the last couple of seconds here. Respond to the caller, please. Thank you.
All right. I will respond. I think that's a great point about carbon dioxide not being a pollutant, and that's something we need to be careful not to concede as a premise. And that's something that the EPA needs to address, the carbon dioxide endangerment finding.
That's right.
Carbon dioxide is not a pollutant. It's a critical element of life on Earth.
Absolutely. Jordan, do me a favor, and I want you to come back in the very near future. I'm going to have a chance to read all of the material instead of just having it handed to me when I get ready to go on the air. I really respect you coming on behalf of the Institute for Energy Research, Jordan McGillis. God bless you, man, and I'll have you back very soon.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Very interesting young man, and some of these energy proposals are absolutely devastating, stupid. Very, very stupid. Oh my, we've got 2018 legislative update coming up in just a few minutes, but I've got a whole bunch of things to remind you of before we get there, including Happy Valentine's Day from the Book Plaza at 220 West 11th Street in Burley. Hello, Colonel Dale and the crew. They've got all kinds of unique gift giving for your loved one. Yes, they do. it's a great place to go shopping for Valentine's Day. They've got all kinds of great books, and they've got all the precious moments and the greeting cards. They've got it all right there for you. Please stop in and say hello. And they've got those 5 language love books by Gary Chapman. Oh, yeah, for your lovey for Valentine's Day at the Book Plaza in Burley. And don't forget Perkins Restaurant, 800 North Overland in Burley. Oh, you can take your lovey on Valentine's Day out to eat. They've got 2 special dinners for just $30. That's right. It includes 1 appetizer, choose from 4 entrees, and delicious pies for dessert. Oh, they're known for their pies. Perkins Restaurant, 800 North Overland in Burley. And Maury's Steakhouse. Hello, Maury's, 219 East 3rd in Burley. They're going to have a great big special for Valentine's Day. Maury's Steakhouse on Valentine's Day, Wednesday, February 14th, from 4 to 10 p.m., all-you-can-eat prime rib and shrimp grand buffet. Look out, that's my favorite. Don't forget all the great food. Take your loved one there for Valentine's Day. Maury's Steakhouse, 219 East 3rd in Burley. And those are some great places to go on Valentine's Day. All right, what else have we got cooking here? Want to remind you, too, about our dear, dear friends over at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. They've got a slogan going on right now. Out with the old... That's not me. I'm talking about old furniture, old carpet, etc. And in with the new. I'm telling you, they've got some super, super low prices, and you'd better take advantage of them. You can carpet your living room, hall, and 3 bedrooms with a carpet pad and installation up to 115 square yards or 1,035 square feet, interest-free for 2 years. And they've got 3 different levels. The standard carpet at $69 a month. Better carpet at $89, and the premium at $99 a month at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. With Jeff and the crew at 459 Overland in Burley, you stop in and see those really, really good people today. Right now, I'm going to go to the phone line. I don't want to keep him waiting, and we're ready for our 2018 legislative update. Excuse me for the frog in my throat this morning. And, of course, we really want to say thank you to Clay Handy and the crew at Handy Truck Lines, 400 West, 100 South of Paul. Handy Truck Lines established in 1928, and they're pleased to be still serving the businesses in all the communities right here in this area as they begin their 90th year of operation and service to you. Handy Truck Lines bringing you our 2018 legislative update. And today we're very honored to have on the phone line with us the Speaker of the House, Mr. Scott Bedke. Speaker, good morning, and thank you for being on our program.
Well, it's my pleasure, Zeb. We're trying a something different phone system on this end, and I'm hoping you can that you read me 5 by 5.
Yeah, you're coming through all right. You're coming through fine, Speaker, and please tell us, let's start first of all. There has been a lot of conversation, Mr. Speaker, about the possibility of a constitutional amendment and a constitutional convention. And there's been a lot of pros, a lot of cons. Can you please give me a kind of a thumbnail synopsis of where you stand on this?
Well, just a little bit of background. Article 5 in the United States Constitution provides the process for amending the United States Constitution. And if you pull out your pocket Constitution, you'll know that you'll notice that there's 27 amendments in addition to the original Constitution. And so, and how those have come about there's 2 ways for that to come about. Number 1 is when 2/3 of the United States House of Representatives and 2/3 of the Senate at the same, they can propose an amendment to the United States Constitution, and then that has to go out and be ratified by 3/4 of the states, or 38 states have to think that that's a good idea. And that's basically what has happened with the 27 amendments to the Constitution. But Article 5 also provides for the states, the various states, so whenever 2/3 of the states get together and propose a convention for the purposes of coming up with an amendment, then that is also within our Constitution to, and so that's another way that is another way to amend the United States Constitution. So from time to time throughout our history, either Congress has acted or the states have acted or have got together and have proposed a constitutional amendment which gets Congress off of center, and they go ahead and do it themselves, and then of course it goes back out to the states for ratification. So I mean, take prohibition for example. I mean, or the 18th Amendment that was brought about by Congress, then ratified by the states, but then the 21st Amendment repealed the 18th Amendment and put, did away with prohibition. And so that's been the process all along. There is growing concern. I know you shared this concern with me and with many others of the federal government is their spending habits, their debt habits. Those are we fear not sustainable long term, and so there is a movement amongst the states to call themselves into a convention. Remember, there have to be 34 states that agree, and to call themselves into a convention to consider amendments to the Constitution that would curtail the actions of the federal government. I mean, would it not have been nice that the federal government, for example, would have been prohibited from borrowing money out of the Social Security Trust Fund? Would it have been nice if they, if they had to do, rules review the same as the Idaho legislature? What if all of the rules that are promulgated by the executive branch agencies had to come back to Congress for an up or down vote? I mean, so this is it's not unprecedented, and it's not this. I don't believe it's the scary thing that everybody will, that some would say it is.
Well, Mr. Speaker, let me jump in. Let me jump in and ask you right there, Mr. Speaker, what are the needs of possibly having a constitutional convention? And after you answer this, we have a caller waiting on the line. Go ahead, please.
For the caller?
Well, no, I mean, what are the needs quickly for even thinking about having a constitutional convention and possibly some amendments? Are there direct needs that need to be addressed right now? And then after you give me a short answer on that, we'll take the call. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think first and foremost, our spending and debt are out of control.
Yes.
And I think that there needs to, I think that we need to address that. I think that the regulatory state is out of control. I believe, that those are the two main things.
Okay.
We are spending ourselves into debt and oblivion. You're sitting on $20 trillion of recognized debt, but the amount of money that the government owes back to Social Security and to the other funds that they have raided, not raided is maybe a little harsh, but I think that has the same effect. They've taken the money out of the Social Security Trust Fund, and I believe, as others do, that these practices are not sustainable, and I believe that we have a divinely inspired Constitution, and in that Constitution are the provisions for states to step up and to right the ship of state.
Okay,
that's what we're looking into here.
All right. Now, Mr. Speaker, we do have a caller. Caller, I'm going to ask you to keep your comment and question brief. I've got limited time. Go ahead, please.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the biggest concern that many of us have is that concerns is that you can't just limit it to one amendment. it says amendments. Number two, people on the left feel like they're going to have a big say in this. The Nation magazine, which is basically a Marxist magazine publication, they're all in favor of it. And the general feeling is Congress is not abiding by Article 1, Section 8 right now that limits their spending. So why would additional amendments be useful? Because they would just look at a balanced budget amendment and throw it in the garbage can like they have the Constitution on most of the issues already.
Okay, I'm going to have Mr. Speaker jump in, and he will answer it. And caller, I thank you for your question. Go ahead, Mr. Speaker, please.
Well, I understand the caller's concerns, but I don't think that those concerns outweigh the need for us to limit the power and jurisdiction of the federal government. I think that his concerns do not outweigh our responsibility to impose fiscal restraints on the federal government, and for those reasons, I think that it's important. Keep in mind that if the worst case scenario that he describes came to fruition, and let's just use the example that that at this convention they proposed eliminating the Second Amendment, which is our right to keep and bear arms, and and somehow the convention ran away, to use his terms, and that was the result of that. That would have to go out to the states, and 38 states would have to ratify that.
Right.
And that means so. What does that mean? That would mean that there would be a piece of legislation that would come to Idaho, for example, but every other of the other 49 states as well, and both the House and the Senate in these respective states would have to vote in favor of ratifying that change to our Constitution. That is the ultimate safeguard, is that 3/4 of the states have to ratify that. Keep in mind our experience with the Equal Rights Amendment from the 70s.
Right.
That was not ratified by the states, and therefore has died. So I appreciate the concerns there, but if there are other states, and I get a chance to rub shoulders with the leaders of these other states, if we get 25 or 30 other states that are talking in these terms, I think it's incumbent upon Idaho to have the conversation, and that's what we're doing.
All right, we have another call, Mr. Speaker, and I'm going to ask the caller to keep it brief. I do have short time left. Go ahead. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes. What amendment was initiated by the states of the 27, and why are we doing 65% of our state budget on education when we do not have anything in the Constitution that says we're supposed to spend it that way? Also, the 16th Amendment was ratified by a lot of the southern states with a bunch of drunk politicians voting on it.
All right, Mr. Speaker, I'll have you respond, please, and then we'll get into the other subject matter on the list this morning. Go ahead, please.
All right. Well, for example, the 17th Amendment was the amendment that allows for the popular election of United States senators. Before the 17th Amendment, that they were elected by the state legislature, and so that was an idea that was proposed. It got critical mass out in the states. The Congress said basically saw the groundswell that was coming from the states, and they stepped up and used the first part of Article 5 to pass the measure with 2/3 and cleared the 2/3 threshold in both the House and the Senate nationally. Then sent it back out to the states where it was ratified by 38, or more of the states. That's how you got the 17th Amendment.
Okay.
I'm not calling up exactly what the 16th Amendment was as to, but typically what has happened is when the groundswell happens out in the country, then Congress finally acts, and they don't act until that happens. And I think if for no other reason than we should explore the Convention of the States, it's high time that they got their fiscal house in order, because I'm sure the caller agrees with me that we can no longer spend and incur debt like we have been. It's an economic impossibility over time, and I for one I am that concerned that and I think that we go there. As to why we spend 65% of the state's money on education, we do have a constitutional requirement to provide for a system of free, thorough public schools, and that, so through the appropriation process, about half of the money ends up going to the public schools, and then also to then the addition that brings us up to the 60% that he referenced is the money that goes to our community colleges and our colleges and universities.
All right, now, Mr. Speaker, I want to shift.
We should shift gears as long as we're talking to folks here. There is something that is pending right now that's going to have a much greater effect on Idaho families this year, and we need to talk about that, Deb.
I assume that you're talking about the federal money of $100 million coming into the state that's new money. Is that correct?
Well, let me just. That's partially correct. So the federal tax law changes that have happened. So the tax cuts, as they're being called, are not. There are tax cuts to some of the rates for businesses and some. And individuals, but more importantly, there are changes in the tax code, so that if the state of Idaho conforms with the federal tax law changes, because that's where Idaho income taxes start, is that you take your federal return and your adjusted gross income is the number that you go forward with when calculating your Idaho taxes. And typically, it's a no-brainer. We always just conform with the federal changes. If we conform with the federal changes this year, that raises the taxes on Idahoans by $100 million. Let that sink in for a minute. So, what are these federal changes? That they are the elimination of the personal exemptions. So, if you itemize. So the $4,050 that you were able to deduct for you and your spouse and your dependents, that ability to do that is now gone, and your ability to shield other income by other deductions has been eliminated. In return, the federal government allowed you to double the standard exemption. Well, that works really great if you're a small family, but if you're a family of 3 or more, then that has the effect of raising your taxes. And in Idaho, that if we conform to those changes, then that will bring in an additional $100 million to the state of Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
So Governor Otter and I have co-sponsored this legislation as well as the President of the Senate and both of the majority leaders in the House and the Senate. We have a bill that was introduced this morning that will lower the income taxes for Idahoans by $200 million. All right, so it takes this windfall and turns around and gives it back to taxpayers. And since the economy and the situation here in the state of Idaho is so, we're doing so well, then we're going to share that, I guess, or reduce the rates for all Idahoans in the income tax brackets, as well as create a child credit for Idaho. Now, it's not going to go completely and eliminate, the amount. So you're going to be reducing your amount of Idaho taxes nearly enough to offset these federal changes. I hope I've made that clear. But if this is a big deal, and it's knocking on our door right now.
Absolutely. Now, I want you to highlight again what we talked about earlier in regards to new money coming into the state of Idaho. Please elaborate on that just a touch.
Okay, so let's take a typical Idaho family that lives in Burley, Idaho. Mom and dad, and let's say they've got 4 kids. So before before there was a deduction, and I'm sure a CPA could explain this better than I, but there was a child tax credit that was allowed. So the child tax credit continues. I'm getting the look here that I'm anyway. So, but there was a deduction for a dependent, for each of your dependents. So for you and for your spouse and for each of the 4 kids, then you were able to claim a deduction of $4,050 each. And so you either had to go that route, or you had to just do, quote, the standard deduction. And most of us, if you don't itemize and you weren't keeping track, you always just took the standard deduction. Well, and since that is so popular, they doubled the standard deduction up to $24,000. But you quickly do the math on a family of 6, then the standard deduction doesn't offset the loss of the personal exemption. And since Idaho families are on average larger than the national average, and we itemize more in Idaho than the national average, and we're more charitable in Idaho than they are nationally on average, then the loss of those exemptions and the loss of those deductions to Idaho families, if we don't change anything, raises $100 million of new money to the state of Idaho.
Wow. Now, Scott, I'm down to about the last 3 minutes here, and I want you to really quick talk about, if you would, and again, keep your eye on the clock, the electronic logging device that Obama signed this law into effect in 2012, and all of a sudden it started to rear its ugly head around the United States. Real quick, give us your thoughts as the Speaker of the House, how serious this law could be.
I think it's absolutely serious. If implemented, I met literally this morning with the director of the Department of Transportation and both the Senate chairman and the House chairman of Transportation. This is unacceptable. Something's got to change on this. We will write the letters. We will do the memorials from the legislature, which are letters, I guess, that all of the legislature sends to Congress. We'll write to the president. We're on this. I appreciate you raising this issue, but this is not just something that is going to affect the horse industry. This affects the grain industry. This affects the potato industry. Affects all. This is anybody that's hauling has their commodities hauled anywhere. This affects. The rules are unreasonable. It will take the heavy hand of government to enforce this. Our Idaho Transportation Department is looking at these things, and they're saying that's something we don't want to enforce.
Absolutely.
And so I think we need to all talk about this. I think we need to inform ourselves on this issue, and this is way across the line as far as I'm concerned.
Mr. Speaker, let me ask you this real quick, short answer on this. How in the world did this ever get passed in the Obama administration, and what do you think or speculate the reason for passing such an insidious law really was?
Well, it would to hamstring. Okay, so this is a great example. This was not a law that Congress passed. This was an executive branch rule that the United States Department of Transportation, during in the Obama administration, this was a rule that has the full force and effect of law, yet it was never voted on by Congress. This is one of those things that we've talked about. Wouldn't it be nice if these types of rules had to go back to Congress for a up or down vote before they were implemented?
Yes.
This is the type of the regulatory side of our government is out of control. You can, The same with all of the rules that implemented Obamacare, all of the rules that implement the Clean Water Act, all of the rules, all of the things that have the heavy hand of government on us are promulgated by rule, and Congress never reviews them, doesn't have the chance to review them. If they passed a law to rescind them, then the president would have to sign it. And how far would that go if President Obama was still the president? And Congress, let's say you had both branches of Congress, and you rescind this electronic logging system, and then you go back, but you're going to ask the president, "Mother, may I?" And he says no. See, these are the powers that rightly belong to the people's representatives in Congress.
Yes.
And so these are some of the things that we need to talk about. These are some of the things that are fundamentally wrong with our system right now, and we've got to address it.
Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke, a very dear friend and very diligent in his work for the state of Idaho. I am flat out of time. I'm over time. And, Scott, thank you so much. God's blessings. Come back soon.
All right, we will see you next week, same time, same station.
All right, thank you very much. And caller, I'm sorry I just flat ran out of time. Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke, on our Idaho Legislative Update, brought to you by Handy Truck Lines. And, of course, they are pleased to be serving the businesses and communities all over this area. 90 years in operation, and we say thank you to Clay Handy and his staff for sponsoring on our program the 2018 Idaho Legislative Update. We've got to get a weather forecast on here really quick, and it's brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, that have been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cache area for well over 50 years with the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, financial statement preparation, payroll services, retirement planning, all of this and more, with 2 offices to serve you in Burley and Rupert. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
This high-pressure system that we're in is going to be around for a few more days, so expect some nice weather, then maybe some precipitation as we get closer to the weekend. Today, partly sunny skies with a high of 53, a little on the breezy side. Winds out of the south for the morning, right around 10 miles an hour, becoming west winds right around 20 miles an hour by this afternoon. Could gust up to 33 miles an hour. For tonight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 31. Tomorrow, another nice day, partly sunny skies with a high of 41. Winds out of the west right around 15 miles an hour, gusts possible as high as 26. Mostly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 27. For Thursday, this is where we're going to see a little bit of precipitation, 20% chance of rain and or snow showers in the morning. Mostly cloudy skies with a high of 43. Thursday night, mostly cloudy with a low of 33. Then for Friday, slight chance of rain showers in the forecast, mostly cloudy and a high of 50. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
And brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. Counting services to the Mini-Cache area in Burley and Rupert. Get a hold of them today. The best. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. Real quick, and as you probably know, I'm behind on my time this morning. I want to be sure and remind you about Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Oh, my goodness. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. Don't forget they've got all your snowmobiles, all your 4x4s, four-wheelers. They've got all the side-by-sides. They've got all the accessories. And believe me, they've got the best doggone service department around. You be sure and stop over. Open the front door to the showroom and say, holy cow, how'd they get this all in here? Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold. Also over in that neck of the woods on Highway 24, don't forget our friends Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Highway 24 in Rupert, life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this by folks that really are accessible and devoted to serving others. They are the professionals. Don't forget Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Highway 24 in Rupert, the number to call, make an appointment, 436-4424. Got to run to the news. News next, and we'll be back in 7 minutes. Oh, my goodness, here we go. Hour number 3. Thank you very much, Zeb at the Ranch. And, of course, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And service is the key word. Along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Great, great people helping you get back to being you. Get a hold of them today. Right now, I also want to remind you about Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Ark Animal Hospital is a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. They love them all. They take care of them all. And don't forget, if you've got a little bitty puppy right now, now's the time to bring them current with the pyro vaccines. Don't forget, this is extremely important. Dr. Bill and the crew serving you at Ark Animal Hospital in Heyburn. And the number to call, put it on your refrigerator, 678-1177. 1177, the number for Ark Animal Hospital. You get a hold of them today. They have warm hearts for the cold noses.
Sir?
Yes.
I was just going to let you know, I have been trying to call Megan, but she won't answer the phone. I left her a voicemail. I will continue to call. But
I don't think she won't answer the phone, but maybe she's not accessible to it. Just please keep trying to get a hold of her, and I'll have Deanne on this side try to get a hold of her, too. Megan Barth, our guest, is not answering the phone right now, and Wheels is going to keep on trying to get a hold of her, and we'll see what we can get done on that. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give us a jingle on the landline. What's that, Deanne? Well, I know, but maybe there's a way you could get a hold of our dear friend AJ and find out what's going on. We'll try to take care of that momentarily, so give us a jingle and let us know what your thoughts about anything we've talked about so far this morning. I wanted to bring you up to speed a little bit on this electronic logging device. What they're trying to do, and I'm going to give it to you in very, very simple terminology and get away from the nuts and bolts of all the legalese, if you will. What they're trying to do is say that people that may be going to a horse show, people that might be going to a rodeo or a roping, people that might be hauling livestock to a sale out of state, people that might be going to the National Western, people that are hauling grain, any kind of commodities, any kind of business like that. They're trying to lump them all together with electronic logging devices and make them be basically commercialized like CDLs for their licenses. And if you go over a 10-hour period, bang, you're shut down. And what this would do to cripple the various industries is absolutely enormous. Barack Obama, in all of his very dim-witted ways, signed this into law in 2012. And currently it's coming out to fruition and causing headaches around the United States. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Zeb. To go along with the electronic log, it's not just going to affect the people hauling things. It's going to affect everybody, from the person buying a hamburger at Burger King or wherever, or clothes at Walmart. The price will roll downhill.
Oh, absolutely.
The price spike in everything, in all aspects of our life.
You know, it's a very good point you bring up, Riley. I called you Raleigh. I talked to a Raleigh at 7:30 this morning. You're exactly right. The trickle-down effect is not going to be a trickle-down. It's going to be a flood of high prices because our economy is going to be slowed down to a crawl.
You betcha. And it makes, like you're bringing it up, it'll make my wife, who just likes to go riding occasionally on the weekends or go helping the father-in-law, whatever, she's going to end up having to get in a CDL just to pull our stock trailer down the road.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I wanted to go to a team roping up in Pendleton, or if I want to go to a team roping down in Salt Lake or Tremont or whatever the case might be, basically, and I pay an entry fee, they're saying that is based upon commercialized licenses, and so I'd have to have a CDL. I mean, the act is absolutely insidious as to the problems it's going to cause.
I can't agree with you more. There's so much that goes into it, and I'll let you go. But I wanted to point that out to the general public that, just because you don't drive a truck doesn't mean that this isn't going to affect you. It's going to affect everybody and everybody. You buy something from the store or what have you, you're going to pay for it.
You know, Riley, and really I'm not stretching this, but to the point where people are hauling horses or whatever, and they've got $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, $60,000 horses, and all of a sudden they're made to shut down and they can't find any lodging for these horses. What are they going to do? Are they going to tie those horses up in the barrel pit, tied up to a barbed wire fence? I don't think so.
You know, and I agree with you. And what about these cattle haulers who are hauling the cattle to either to the processor or to the feedlots out of these sale yards? You cannot leave livestock, and you know this very well. You can't leave livestock in a trailer for very long.
No, and
you can't do it. They will die.
I talked to Scott Bedke earlier this morning, and we were talking about this, and then also another member of the Transportation Department in Boise, Representative Clark Kaufman, is really on top of this, as is Senator Kelly Anthon. And I urge you and others to contact their offices and let them know how afraid you are of this insidious bill that is a leftover on the plate from Obama that's going to hurt the United States.
I will. And I'll let you go and keep talking, buddy. Have a good day.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. You know, I was talking to a neighbor the other night about this, and I don't think the far reaches of how dangerous and how dastardly this bill is. We already had stories that when we were talking to the gentleman last week on our program of a gentleman that was leaving, I believe, and I don't want to exaggerate this, but I think he was leaving like East Texas, and was going to go back to either Kentucky or Tennessee to pick up 3 bulls and bring them back to his operation. And he was picked up, stopped. He had to put his outfit basically in a quarantine, kind of an impound situation, and couldn't move, couldn't even unhook the trailer to go use the vehicle to go to a restaurant and or to go to a motel and try to get some rest. This is absolutely stupid what's going on, and you can point your finger on this electronic logging device law that was signed in by the Obama administration and Barack Obama himself. This is one of the great leftovers of crime against the United States from Barack Obama, and I have nothing good to say about him. Calls are welcome, 436-2244. Yes.
Megan is on the phone for you now.
All right, very good. Thank you to you and also to Deanne for trying to check this out. Megan Barth, we were looking for you. How are you?
Yeah, I think we got our times mixed up, but we're all good now, Zeb. I'm doing well. How are you?
Okay, now I'm just going to ask you a favor. I'm taking up a collection, Megan, and I need your check to be put in the mail today, and we're taking checks of $10 from everybody, and we're going to buy a great big surplus of boxes of Depend diapers to send back to the Democrats because they're acting like babies and probably peeing their pants.
Yeah, I think there's up to 10 of them are going to boycott the State of the Union, which, of course, is tonight. And also a Supreme Court Justice, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, has decided that she'd rather fall asleep, I guess, at home rather than fall asleep in the chamber as she's done in years past.
Let me ask you this. In Ruth Bader Ginsburg's defense, if there is any, is it because she is so elderly and not able to keep her eyelids from slamming shut? Do you think that is a legitimate excuse, or is it against this administration?
Oh, it's definitely against this administration. I mean, I think she's even on the record stating that she has no plans on to retire, and that's specifically because if she did, we would stack the Supreme Court with another federalist like Gorsuch. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is definitely an activist judge. I watched a flashback of her confirmation hearings, and, you know, of course, it's all a dog and pony show. That she was definitely not biased. She administers justice according to how the law is written. Yeah, right. But she also is on record with the New York Times Magazine. I think it was back in the early 90s, if I'm correct. Stated that she had believed at the time that Roe v. Wade were passed, it was to get rid of certain populations. I mean, the woman is a eugenicist, a progressive, absolute nutbag. and she's demonstrating her outward bias by boycotting the State of the Union.
Megan, let me ask you this. There are so many people in their different districts, whether it is Maxine Waters or John Lewis, it doesn't make any difference, that are not tied to the Democratic Party and their whims and wishes. They must feel like they have no representation whatsoever, and if I were one of those people, I would be demanding their heads on a platter for being extremely unprofessional by boycotting the State of the Union.
Well, I mean, let's look at the cast of characters that are really boycotting. I mean, we have Maxine Waters and others who have called for the impeachment of Donald Trump. Most of them are from the Congressional Black Caucus that have done absolutely zero for the ghettos that most of them reside over. I mean, if you look at Maxine Waters, for example, her constituency is made up of Watts and South Central in general. And it was interesting. I was watching the news the other day, and there was a celebrity who volunteers every year to administer help to the homeless on Skid Row in Los Angeles. And every year this volunteer activity grows by numbers, and hundreds he has sponsors now. Well, Maxine Waters or Jerry Brown weren't around to be seen. They didn't volunteer. They simply do not care because the constituents of the Democrats are dependent. And the dependency is what makes a happy Democrat. So the more dependency, the happier the Democrat. The more dependency, the larger the government, the happier the Democrat. And that is why they were claiming that tax cuts were going to be Armageddon, and tax cuts were actually lethal. People were going to die if they got tax cuts. Well, now they're realizing that actually, no, people don't die. The world didn't end. It was not Armageddon. People are much happier getting thousands of dollars, even though Nancy Pelosi calls it crumbs. Even though Jay-Z says that money isn't important to black people. Well, that's a new one. Money is important, and people vote with their pocketbooks. So if Armageddon is going to happen, it's going to happen at the midterms when the tax cuts take full effect, and people have more money in their pocket. And as you know, and I know, that people vote with their pocketbooks.
Let me ask you, I saw the likes of Michael Moore and other Hollywood so-called celebrities on television this morning that were having a pre-State of the Union message to impeach Trump, dump Trump, do everything you can to resist Trump. How bad do you think this movement is going to be when the weather warms up and these people in large metropolitan areas are going to hit the street and they're egged on for insurrection by the Democratic Party? I don't think we've seen the tip of the iceberg yet. What are your thoughts?
Probably not. That is a tactic of the Democrats, is, to create angry mobs and take over the streets, much like they did Occupy Wall Street, much like they funded Antifa and the many riots of violence that were against the Trump rallies. If you recall, it was the DNC that paid for violent protesters to show up on Lakeshore Drive and basically block access to the Chicago rally. I wouldn't be surprised if the resistance movement gets a little bit more violent, because inherently the Democrats like violence because it's chaos, and never let a crisis go to waste. If a crisis doesn't exist, create one. They operate in a realm of chaos, and chaos creates fear, and fear creates dependency, and dependency creates happy Democrats, like I said before. So to understand the motives of the left, you simply just have to look at the patterns. And they have a very long history. I mean, when you have Chris Cuomo, a part of the resistance of the press, comparing Antifa to our men who stormed Normandy, I mean, you realize just how out of touch many of the elitists within the Democrat Party and their activists in the press are. And they do fine in their little echo chambers in New York City and in their little echo chambers in like award shows in Hollywood. But once Michael Moore and Alyssa Milano and the rest of the millionaires, resistors, take to the streets. I mean, I was looking at the list of who's leading the People's State of the Union, which is headed by a communist Michael Moore, and the lowest salary on that elitist ladder is $8 million.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not really going to affect, I think, necessarily the drive to the polls in 18 because we took the Rust Belt. I mean, those are the people that Donald Trump spoke to, the working men and women of this country. And when these working men and women, like I said, realize the true outcome of the tax reform bill that was put through, Tax and Jobs Act, they will again return to the polls, and it's not going to be to pull the lever for a Democrat because not one Democrat voted for the tax cut.
Right. Megan, tonight there is purportedly going to be some that are going to be at the State of the Union message, and they're going to wear black in honor of the Me Too movement in this country against sexual misconduct. But now that movement has taken on a you're not innocent until proven guilty. Now it's taken on the movement of you're guilty and you're toast and we're done with you. Is this thing ever going to turn around and go back to a sense of normalcy, or are we going to see an absolute battle, if you will, against the males in our society?
The latter, but I don't think that the movement really started out from a sense of normalcy. When you look at the sexual allegations, assault and harassment allegations, they've been weaponized for quite some time. Not necessarily politically weaponized, as we've recently seen here, because the Democrats are resorting to weaponizing those types of allegations. If they can't make racist stick, they can certainly make a sexual harassment allegation stick. When you look, for example, at Title IX, and if you're not familiar with Title IX, I wrote about this on ReaganBabe.com. Obama and Biden expanded Title IX, and this expansion basically empowered bureaucrats within our college campuses, Title IX administrators and others, to basically pass judgment on any male that had been accused of sexual harassment. Now, this male college kid could not show up with a lawyer. The cops were not notified that there was a sexual assault or allegation levied, so they couldn't do any investigation. And basically, you had, hundreds of college-age men who were found guilty without due process. This happened time and time and time again on college campuses across our country. As a matter of fact, when I was researching Title IX expansion and what happened, and I specifically was researching it because of the UVA rape case, if you recall, Rolling Stone used an anonymous Jane Doe to completely publicly smear a whole entire fraternity at University of Virginia, which I found quite odd. So I started looking into it, and, thereby lies Title IX, and I was horrified at how cavalier this process was, and actually how dangerous this process was, and used against the young men in our country on college campuses. I even said, I believe in my article, that if I had a college-age son, I wouldn't be sending him to college.
Absolutely.
Because he would not be protected.
Absolutely.
Process.
And
so there has been a war, there has been a war on men. It's the patriarchy, don't you know, Zeb?
Absolutely. Now, let's get one step further on this, though, and the dating scene of men and women. Hi, what are you doing Friday night? Would you like to go out to dinner? Basically the dating scene and the way men are going to be perceived and the way women might come back with a lawsuit, it's going to absolutely, on a date, put your head in the noose for men. I mean, this is a very dangerous situation from now on.
Well, that happened against a young male, Ansi Ansari, I think his name is, and this was part of the Me Too movement that started to eat itself up, whereby a young woman had given him her phone number. They went on a date in New York. They had a couple drinks. She went back to his apartment. They started fooling around. They got quite intimate. But yet she went home feeling violated. And she said in her piece that he should have known her unspoken cues that she was not comfortable. So now men, I guess, are mind readers. And bad first dates have turned into, sexual assault allegations. And yes, men should be very concerned. But this is the world we live in right now, based upon the supposed empowerment of women through the feminist movement, who have no problem, walking around with mattresses on their back, claiming they were sexually harassed on the Columbia College campus. That's proved to be a complete fabricated lie. And then you have the backlash against this young woman, from some women in the Me Too movement that were like, look, you had a bad first date, girl. You didn't get sexually assaulted. This is not sexual harassment. You simply had a bad first date.
Megan,
so that's what we really have to watch for.
Absolutely. Megan, real quick, and I've only got 2 minutes left. I'd like you to give us an update as to the continuing lack of motive, lack of information that happened in the Vegas shooting. What are your thoughts about where they are today in the investigation?
Well, it's kind of a mess. We know that he had 7. We know that Stephen Paddock had 7 burner phones. We know that he was using 2 private email addresses with his name on it. He was corresponding with an unknown source through that email, so he must have given that unknown source the password. They were talking about the thrill of using bump stocks to kill. And then we have the conflicting statements from the Sheriff Joe Lombardo, who said that Stephen Paddock is the only shooter, but, oh, by the way, there's another person of interest, but he's under FBI investigation right now. I've never believed it was a lone shooter. I never believed that Stephen Paddock acted alone. I never believed that he was crazy because he was so methodical in the planning. And, you know, if you lose $1 million, you certainly just don't, you don't plan it out for months and months and months, how to kill as many people possible on a day that you didn't know you were going to lose money. So I do believe that the girlfriend is not a person of interest to the FBI, but she certainly is interesting to me. And I think that the more and more attention that we give to the Las Vegas shooting, the better off we are, because no one seems to want to talk about it except for Tucker Carlson every Friday.
Absolutely. Megan, I certainly appreciate your coming on the air, the founder and proprietor of ReaganBabe.com, and you know what's happening. Megan, I appreciate it. Megan Barth, come back soon. Thank you very much.
Anytime, Zeb.
Thank you. God bless. Very, very nice lady, but extremely sharp on what's happening politically and in the news. Megan Barth, appreciate her being on the program. Got to pay some bills, and I want to remind you that on Thursdays we have a segment called Cassia County School Days, and we have 2 wonderful sponsors of that segment. First of all, A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, and they've got all kinds of different clothing, ladies' dresses, and of course dresses for my little bitty wee ones, and all the baby furniture and the games and the toys and the puzzles. It's a family store, and they really treat you as family when you're in there. And I'll tell you what, great folks serving you at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. And don't forget the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley. And for your outpatient surgeries, you need to get a hold of them today and find out how they can save you money on life-saving colonoscopies and hand surgeries, arthroscopic knee surgeries, all of this and more at Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley. The number to call, 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County on Thursdays at 10:10, right here on Zeb at the Ranch. Wow, we've had a busy morning this morning, and we're not done yet. Coming up next half hour, Curtis Ellis. But right now, we're going to send it back over to our main studio. I'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Before I go to my guest, I want to remind you about Brian Scott, Dan King, and Todd Lovelace, financial advisors with Waddell & Reed. And they're going to have a booth this year at the Agri-Action coming up this weekend at the CSI Expo Center. But then next Tuesday, please remember this. They're going to have a farm and ranch succession planning, and that's going to be on Tuesday next week, February 6th at 6:30 p.m. at their office, Waddell & Reed in Twin Falls, located at 1146 Eastland Drive North. And agriculture, of course, the backbone of our community right here in the Magic Valley. And if you want to say in what happens to your farm or ranch, you need a plan. You need to hear what they have to say. That's next Tuesday, February 6th at 6:30 p.m., Waddell & Reed office, 1146 Eastland Drive North in Twin. You must RSVP, please. I'll be there. You be there. 732-7695. 732-7695. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I'm very, very honored to have this man back on my program again. Every time he's on the show, he's a calming effect to let us know that good things are happening in this administration. Curtis Ellis, Senior Policy Advisor for American First Policies. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm just great. Wonderful to be here with you, Zeb. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
You know, Curtis, I really put my trust in you because you know what's going on. You're not going to give us a bunch of hyperbole and balderdash as if I were talking to somebody in the Democratic Party. I want to start things off a little bit this morning and talk about this memo. Everybody's saying the memo. We need to read it. We need to see it. It's our American right. It's our information. What are your thoughts about the seriousness of this memo, and what do you think's going to happen with it?
Well, I do believe that it will be released, and I hope it will be released. Now, I don't want to get everybody's expectations up. This is not going to be the end of the world, and we're going to see Robert Mueller frog marks out of his office in handcuffs and leg irons because of this memo. I don't want anyone to get that idea. But here's what the deal is. This is, we need to know the full story because there seems to be plenty of circumstantial evidence. We have these texts between high-level FBI agents and a lot of other situations. It is a fact that there was a surveillance warrant, to use the colloquial term, a wiretap of people in the Trump campaign. And they were wiretapped. And there seems to be a lot of evidence that what was used to obtain that court order to wiretap American citizens was political, opposition research documents created by the Democratic Party. When you have a political party using the instruments of government to conduct surveillance or dirty tricks, using the instruments of government to perform dirty tricks and even surveillance on an opposition political party, that's dangerous territory. We don't know if that happened. We need to know if that happened. One of the folks who is not coming to the State of the Union tonight, who's boycotting it, Congressman John Lewis from Georgia. He was a hero of the civil rights movement. He was right up there with Martin Luther King, marching in Selma, Alabama, got his head beat in, almost died. There is an FBI file on that man going back to the 1960s, and that serves as a warning of what we don't want going on. We don't want the FBI used to target political opponents. The FBI is supposed to target evildoers, lawbreakers, not political enemies. We can't allow that to happen. We need to know it. We need to know if that's been going on. That's what this memo should shed some light on. The memo is not going to give us answers. It's going to open the door to more questions. From what I understand, I have not read the memo, but what it will do is it will put out, it's a summary of facts derived from various classified documents that have been reviewed by this intelligence committee. And this summarizes the facts. And from what I've heard, it raises very disturbing questions. Now, America is the land of the free and the home of the brave. We are brave enough and strong enough to stomach disturbing questions and look for the answers. It is only cowards who hide in the darkness and are afraid to confront uncomfortable questions or uncomfortable truths or uncomfortable possibilities. We will confront those uncomfortable possibilities. And that's what I hope will happen, that we release the memo, we meaning the U.S. government, that the memo is released and people can judge for themselves and go forth and ask questions based on information.
You know, Curtis, that was very well stated. And then let me follow up by asking you this question. As you have been very close to politics, very close to the Trump people and President Trump himself, you know the ins and outs of what's going on, more so than I and other Americans. Would you this morning say that you still have the trust as an American citizen in the Department of Justice and the FBI that you had maybe 6-8 months ago? Or are you very concerned and wary about the illegalities that those two departments have let show forth?
You are asking the exact right question, because this is why we need to release the memo. In order to restore trust in the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. To answer your question, I do not have the same level of trust that I did a year ago or 16 months ago. Now, I'm a certain age. I remember when Martin Luther King was alive, and I remember when he was assassinated, and I remember when there were various theories. I don't want to dismiss them as conspiracy theories, but there were questions raised by credible people, not just fringe elements, as to how did that all happen, because there was the Church Commission. I don't know if you remember Frank Church.
Yes.
He was a senator from Idaho.
Yes, I do.
And he set up a whole committee to investigate these kind of things of J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI wiretapping Martin Luther King and plotting the assassination of foreign leaders and targeting anti-war protesters and this and that. Look, J. Edgar Hoover thought the future of the country was at stake, and he was going to defend the country, and he would do anything to do that, including things which, in retrospect, are kind of unseemly, to put it mildly. Well, anyway, having lived through all that, I have been always suspect that if you have an all-powerful government, it can go awry. It can go off the rails. So, but still, the revelations that have come forward last several months have made me more suspicious and eroded my trust in these institutions. And we need to restore that trust, and the only way we can do it is by getting all the facts out. Now, I believe that Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who had served as a U.S. prosecutor, a federal prosecutor decades ago, he believes in the institution of the Department of Justice. I was there in Trump Tower when he said he wanted to be, they asked him, you could have any job you want, and everybody thought he'd go for Department of Homeland Security. But he said, no, I want to be Attorney General because the best years of my life were the years I spent at the Justice Department. So he has a fond memory of a Justice Department that Americans could trust as a professional, unpolitical, unbiased organization. I'm afraid that reputation has been sullied by the news that's been coming out, drip, 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 and we need to clear this up.
Let me ask you this, Curtis, and this is a speculative type question, but I want your insight on this. The Democrats, the party, Congressman Nunes and others seem to be, to me, in a state of shock, fear, and in awe, if you will. If that memo is to be released, it almost acts like a little kid that took the cookies out of the cookie jar and he's got them behind his back, and they're afraid that somebody's going to ask him to turn around. Do you get the same feeling that this memo all of a sudden has been a dark cloud over the Democratic Party?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're right on the money there. That is my feeling as well. This is going to expose, now I'm just based on speculation. I have not read the memo. I have the same information that you have, though I've heard from some people who are very close to having, they themselves didn't see the memo, but they've talked to people who have. I believe this is going to expose the entire Russia story as the fairy tale and the hoax and the political dirty trick that it is, that was engineered at the highest levels of the Clinton campaign, working with some of these entrenched bureaucrats at the highest levels of the Obama administration, the Justice Department, and the FBI. And it's going to it's going to be exposed. It's going to be exposed as a complete fraud, a dirty trick, and beyond possibly criminal activity. When you start using the surveillance powers of the government to target people who are not guilty of anything, that's against the law. And you start seeing some of this other stuff of trying to exonerate Hillary Clinton for potential crimes, interfering with an investigation. That's called obstruction of justice. So basically, everything the Democrats have been accusing Donald Trump of, they are guilty of themselves. This is going to be a reversal of fortune on a magnitude that we have not seen since the book of Esther, where Haman was hanged on the gallows he built to hang Mordecai.
Yes, absolutely. Curtis, let me ask you this. We'll change gears a little bit. I've been very critical of Maxine Waters and John Lewis and many others that have come out and they've absolutely denounced and tried to derail anything to do with the Trump administration. And then they, of course, and along with others, have said they will not sit in attendance at the State of the Union message. I call that nothing more than very unprofessional. What are your thoughts about these people that aren't going to be there? If I were one of their constituents, I would be embarrassed to have them representing me.
Yes, and you're not alone. I'm with you. I think that's the right word to use is unprofessional. Look, this is professional. They're taking it down to a personal level. They're saying, I don't like this guy, so I'm not going to go there. Well, it's not about whether you like the person or the personality. This is a professional situation. The president gives his report to Congress. Congress should be there to receive the report. And it's interesting, several members of the Congressional Black Caucus were on television last night with on CNN, I believe. And they are some of the members that were sitting on TV are going. And they were asked to explain, what their thinking was. And they said, well, I believe in facing one of the members said, I think we should, I believe in facing the things even if I'm uncomfortable with it. Another one of the members said, it's my duty to hear what the president has to say. Another one said, I respect the presidency even if I don't like this particular president. Interestingly enough, by saying those things, what are they saying about those members who aren't going? Those members who aren't going don't respect the presidency, don't believe they need to hear what the president's saying so they can tell their constituents. So I really think these people have gotten so far off the beam, and it troubles me as to what it portends for the future. After President Trump is long out of office, this now opens the way for all kinds of members to say, well, I don't like that president, so I'm going to, not do my job.
Absolutely. Curtis, I've got to touch on one other subject with your information, and I'm down to about 4 or 5 minutes left in the segment. I personally do not want to see the Dreamers, DACA if you will, be all issued into a pathway of citizenship and amnesty. I don't want to see that. I saw too many of these Dreamers, if you will, stand there, make threats, swear, curse, make obscene gestures, demanding signs of citizenship. Wait a minute. I don't want that kind of person demanding that they're going to be a citizen of my country. What really are they going to bring to the citizenship to bring better and bigger things to the United States? I don't see it. I think Trump may weaken a little bit and offer the carrot of maybe 1.8, 3 million, whatever the number might be, but he's got to lock down that he's going to build the wall, he is going to get the money, and he is going to stop chain migration. What are your thoughts on this issue?
I couldn't agree with you more. We have to have the wall, an end to chain migration, and the diversity lottery. That must happen before anything else.
Yes. Because
otherwise you'll never get it. We've seen this in the past. They always talk about, back in 2006, Congress voted for a fence and appropriated money. Never happened. Never got built. You raised such a good point there. These people, these DACA recipients, I refuse to call them dreamers because everybody has dreams. My kids have dreams. Your grandkids have dreams. Your neighbors have dreams, and their kids have dreams. And they don't break the law to get their dreams.
That's right.
Realize their dreams. They work hard. Many of these DACA recipients have not even graduated high school. So maybe they came here through no fault of their own, but they didn't even bother to finish high school once they got here. So what does that tell you? They march around, as you say, making obscene gestures, demanding. That's like somebody showing up at my front door and demanding to be in the house and demanding to have the master bedroom and demanding that I feed them dinner. I mean, this is crazy. And then you see others that are waving the Mexican flag, marching around, demanding this, demanding that, and waving the Mexican flag. Well, if they love Mexico so much that they're waving the flag, why don't they go there? You know? I mean, come on. But as soon as you say we're going to send you back to Mexico, they drop the flag and say, how dare you? It's like, so, yeah, there has to be, what President Trump has laid out is a pathway to citizenship in 10 or 12 years if they don't go on welfare, don't break the law, and meet several other requirements. Now, in the past, going back hundreds of years in this country, there's always been the story of, well, when do people become citizens? And you've seen in the past, I've read about this, very often they put the stipulation, well, 15 years from now, they can become citizens. But what he's really done, I believe, is exposed the hypocrisy and the cynicism and the fraud of the Democrats who have been claiming to be champions of these DACA recipients. But really, when you start talking to the people and saying, well, we will offer you people a chance to live here without worrying about being deported, the people will say, okay, that's fine. That's all I really wanted. I can get a car loan. I can, get a mortgage, whatever. I don't have to worry about my job. But the activists say, no, that's not good enough. They have to be able to vote. They have to have full citizenship. So we know what the Democrats are really about.
Yes.
They're really about finding people to do the jobs that Americans won't do, and that job is vote for Democrats.
I would really wish I had more time to talk to you about the economy, which is going up like a rocket ship. I wanted to talk to you about Medicaid and certain states that are going to make it to where you're going to have to work if you're going to receive the benefits. Would you please consent to coming back in about a week or so after the State of the Union? We'll kind of compare notes and go from there.
I'd love to. It's always a pleasure talking with you. This is like a really civilized conversation. It's terrific.
Well, Curtis,
come back anytime you want, Zeb.
I appreciate you so much. Senior Policy Advisor for America First Policies, Curtis Ellis. God bless you, man. I'll be in touch with you. Thank you so much.
God bless. Take care.
Thank you. I'll have him back in the next couple of days because I wanted to get into so many more things regarding the economy and all the other issues that are right now on the forefront, the front burner, North Korea, our national security, etc. So I'll make a note to give him a call back. We've got to get a weather forecast on here right now. Excuse me. The weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats. Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, find out more, 324-7657, or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Delicious meats. I mean, all the different breakfast bacons and sausages and bratwurst. That's my weakness. I love bratwurst. Oh, and the prime ribs and the smoked hams. It's delicious. Always is, from Scarrow's Meats in Jerome. We'll be right back after the weather.
This high-pressure system that we're in is going to be around for a few more days, so expect some nice weather, then maybe some precipitation as we get closer to the weekend. Today, partly sunny skies with a high of 53, a little on the breezy side. Winds out of the south for the morning, right around 10 miles an hour, becoming west winds right around 20 miles an hour by this afternoon. Could gust up to 33 miles an hour. For tonight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 31. Tomorrow, another nice day, partly sunny skies with a high of 41. Winds out of the west right around 15 miles miles-an-hour gusts possible as high as 26. Mostly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 27. For Thursday, this is where we're going to see a little bit of precipitation, 20% chance of rain and or snow showers in the morning. Mostly cloudy skies with a high of 43. Thursday night, mostly cloudy with a low of 33. Then for Friday, slight chance of rain showers in the forecast, mostly cloudy and a high of 50. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, Gina, thank you very much. Great comprehensive weather forecast. Appreciate it. Scarrows Meat's our sponsor, and again, they're located at 331 North Road, Jerome. Oh, they really put their heart and soul into having the best, most delicious meats available at Scarrows Meats. Yep, it's true. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Scarrows Meats. Wow, we've got a tremendous show lined up again for tomorrow, and we're going to have more great guests coming on the program from all over the United States. And there's another issue I've got to remind you of real quick, a free educational seminar, Farm and Ranch Succession Planning. I talked to you about that. It's going to be at Waddell and Reed office. It's going to be at 1146 Eastland Drive North next Tuesday, February 6th at 6:30 p.m. Don't forget to RSVP at calling 732-7695. Don't forget that, please. I'll be there. You should be too. Want to remind you, too, about our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Wow, what service they provide. You drive in, they gallop out there to say, what can we do to help you? And they've got all your traction tires for your cars, your pickups, your SUVs, like the Wintercat SST or the Observe tire. They, just by talking to you, they can figure out what's best for your driving situation. So stop in and see them today. The best in brake service, along with front-end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. I mean, they really care. And doing the right thing matters, and that's why they're the best at the service they provide for you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I've got 30 seconds. Real fast. Go.
Question. How can we avoid President Trump being offered such a deal from Senator Chuck Schumer and all them people saying to him, oh, we'll support you having money to build your wall only if you support and allow these dreamers to come in, all these illegal aliens from coming into our nation. How can we avoid that from happening for Trump to be in the tight squeeze like that?
All right, I tell you what, I appreciate your call and your worry, because that's a worry of mine also. And it's kind of like playing poker. I want to make sure that I've got the better hand to win. And I think Trump right now has the better hand to win. And I'll talk about that more tomorrow morning in the first hour. I think this dreamer, citizenship and the pathway. But wait a minute, let's get the money for the wall. Let's stop chain migration. Let's cut the numbers down so we don't have a continuing immigration illegally coming into this country. I'll talk about that tomorrow morning. Got to run. I'm late. God bless everybody. We'll be here tomorrow morning at 8:06, right here on KBAR 1230 AM, and then streaming live on ZebBell.com all over the world. So tune us in. And remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be.